Hi, Dan Paulson here. In this video, I want to discuss what my understanding has come to be with respect to the idea that few are chosen. Few are chosen. What does that mean in the spiritual realm? We understand that verbiage from Jesus, right? Many are called, few are chosen. But if we step back and just leave that alone for now and go look at the hero's journey and lots of other religions, myths, teachings from antiquity, what we find is that there is a component part of all of the stories that include passing through a narrow passageway. We see this in when Jason and the Argonauts leave the island behind and they finally start off on their adventure. They're getting underway to go resolve the issues. Remember, this is playing out inside the psyche of the individual. I am Jason, you are Jason. We are sailing through the subconscious, the clashing rocks. We're going into a dangerous place where we're going to have to start defeating our enemies. That is there. We see the same element happen with Moses as they are escaping Pharaoh. They're escaping their past. What do? They create a narrow passage in the sea and escape through, and it collapses behind them. Jesus has one too. Many are standing outside the narrow gate where only the solitary will pass. Many are called, few are chosen. What is that? What is the few chosen and how does that work? And this is very important, and it's hinging kind of on the last video I did was talking to somebody that's in a position where they're learning and growing and they're in Christian environments and they're talking to people who think, wow, you're crazy. Leave that stuff alone. Don't interpret it. Don't look into it. But we're different. We can't. But we're rare and we need to connect. And this is something that's supposed to be in the material in various places. This, what I'm about to say, is supposed to be kept secret. I've said before that I know things, or I've uncovered things that I haven't covered yet, and I think it's time for this one. It's not popular for some people, and I've talked with people about this before, and some have actually gotten angry at me for suggesting this, so I want to approach it carefully. But this is what it is, and I'm not quite certain how to approach it, so I'm just going to kind of free speak here and see what comes out. The idea that few are chosen. All right, so what are we doing? Essentially, let's start at the beginning. We are turning inward. We are looking to self-heal, to rise above where we come from. And we have the capacity to turn and look and do that. We do. For some reason, it appears as though most humans do not. And I don't know why that is. I think I know. I've spent a long time working on this, but I also can assure you that I have, as I've learned and grown and I was excited about things and I'm learning things and it's different than what I've been taught. And it's not dismissing it. It's finding something new. It's finding something very personal in the verses. So as I go through and interpret the way that I do, I find that the same exact steps are in there for self-healing that Lao Tzu teaches, that Buddha teaches, that Hinduism teaches, that They're all nesting in a certain way, this template, this healing template. And that as you express that to people and let them know, hey, this is not about, or I don't know what it is about, but if you turn it inward, there's something more in here. And there are people that are Christians that have said, thank you, Dan. Oh, that's wonderful. And other ones that have angrily told me, you don't do that. That's evil. That's trying to make the verse about you instead of something else. They're all over the place with their beliefs with it. I'm one that says, you know what, if you have to be afraid of that verse, I don't know what you're doing with it. If you can't understand it and pick it apart and learn it and understand it from every possible angle, why would you carry it and hang on to it as your salvation? That seems crazy to me. You pick these things apart. Here's another example from another culture, but it's doing the exact same thing. And I'm going to refer to the Tao Te Ching from Lao Tzu right here. There is a verse in here. I'm not going to find it right now, but basically this is said to be kind of paradoxical material, hard to understand. Some people say it's impossible to understand, that you just can't do it, that you have to experience it, that there's no way to describe it and explain it. And I'm going to say, welcome to the verbiage from the 21st century non-explorer. Okay, there are 81 cryptic verses in here, accumulated by some master, and then you're told you can't figure them out. Why? You know what that is? That's the carrier shell. That's the mysticism. That's what makes people carry it. The seeker's going to say, give me that. Give me that. Can't figure it out. What are you talking about? Naming is the origin of all particular things. Oh, play that out in the psyche. As soon as I've decided I hate that or I like that, I've created that. This is as simple to understand as anything else. You got to look into them. You understand them. You open up to them. And then you see something emerge. And yeah, this is the part where it's like, who are those few? Okay, and in a nutshell, and this should be very observable, the person that's called is the person that turns inward, the person that says, I've had it with my life. I'm done. I'm not doing this anymore. I have to change. I've got to look at myself. And what is up here stored in my electrochemical brain that is causing my life to continue to emerge the way it is? Most humans are not going to do that. They're going to continue to look out at the world and blame this mental condition on what is happening out there. We've done that. That's how we're taught. We grow up that way. But something happens in us where we emerge differently and go, oh, wait a minute. It's not about that. It's my flow in that. We've made that transition. We became the one that suddenly went into that narrow passageway. Who are the many called? The ones that are carrying it. The ones who carry the ark. Who sees inside? Just a few. Who goes from the holy to the holy of holies after entering through the curtain? Yeah, I know. These are, they're analogous. I shouldn't be using those terms until I get to them. But they're all representing this idea of turning into and going into through a small passageway, into your own mind, into your own cave, going into the tomb, going into whatever, the underworld, the far side of the world. All of those apply in stories that are fitting here. We are doing that, and that is who are called. But you can't go talk to people about that. You can't. How does that sound? Yeah, not very fun. So what I would recommend is you're healing and trying to figure out things and talk things through. If you can find somebody that's on this path with you, that you two work together, it is important to dialogue. The more I studied on my own, I would learn a little bit and I would gradually increase. As soon as I started making videos and was like going through the verse interpretation and things like that, as I'm verbalizing it and making videos, there's something else that's engaging right there. And as people are viewing the videos and we're dialoguing, I am suddenly like, oh, I get that now. I was wrong. I didn't have that interpreted right. My learning increased incredibly by just being able to dialogue. It's very important to be able to talk about it, but it's very important to be able to talk about it without, most people are not going to want to talk about this. They'll chastise you for it. And that depends on where you are, I suppose. I'm in a culture where it is very much a theistic, outward-looking, religious-looking culture. People are not looking inward, they're looking out to space. There are other places in the world, though, where it is not so severe, where people are more spiritual-oriented, looking inward as opposed to... Anyway, it's hard to find people to talk with. And I have been, absolutely in environments where I was treated poorly for talking out. Didn't happen right off the bat, but somebody eventually snaps and they've got their own issues that they're not going to deal with, and they start beating you with those issues. And you realize that as you're working through your things to heal, you're touching the very things that they don't want to deal with. They're gonna get angry at you, and they will get angry at what you hear from them is what their fear is. If they're complaining about gays or whatever people are complaining vehemently about is what their wall is. That's what their issues are. That's what their shame is. Learn that. Pull back from it. Know that you're on track and that people around you are not getting it. They're not going to. Only some of us will. That's why we need to find a place to talk so we can get this out and figure it out and realize that, there are certain brain architectures that are going to get this and other ones it doesn't matter what you do. Doesn't matter. The more you want to help them, the more they're going to beat you. Shh. We have to just go there and become that. And What else? One time I went to see a psychologist because I had a problem. I can't remember exactly what it was, but there was something I was stuck with and I wasn't getting it. I couldn't figure it out and I didn't have anybody to talk to. So I paid out of my pocket, went to go see a psychologist and said, can I talk to you for an hour? And they sit down and they're like, okay, how does it start? Where does it, what's your name, your brother, your family? I'm like, okay, stop. I have questions for you. And they're like, oh, it doesn't work that way. And I said, oh, we'll go take my money elsewhere. And they're like, what's your question? Okay, I always do this and I react. Why? Did you ever acknowledge your childhood self? No, thank you. That's what I needed. You can get help along the way from people who are detached and objective and have no emotional connection to your fear. And our fears are going to be big. They're going to be there. The fear is something that we all have to face about ourselves. But we're also on this path. We're raw, we're tender. We're facing fears in a group of people who deny those fears. And they deny them so vehemently that some people amp up and hate over their fears. Now, one thing I've pondered, and I'm just throwing this out there as an idea, because I've wondered what is it that makes human brains different, that makes some of us go for that and some of us not? And I'll just nutshell what I think. I believe that because of different brain architectures, and I'm talking about I would say Myers-Briggs personality type identifiers, the introvert, the extrovert, engineers, feelers, all that kind of different stuff, that there are differences in us in the population. We are not all identical. People think differently, they respond differently, they feel differently. Even if they've had all the same experiences, it doesn't matter. Look in a house of 10 kids. They all grow up being different from each other, even though they're raised in the same home. There are differences. There's ones that are outgoing, ones that are quiet. Those are things that we're just born with. It's a part of the way our brain works. So we're working with that to begin with. And I think that a brain architecture that is a introverted feeler is what we're looking for here. I believe that is probably what might set the seekers apart from the people who call themselves seekers. But I don't know. And here's what I go do. I go look around for INFP or INFJ information, things like that. And what do I find? A boatload of egomaniacal. I would be that same way if I was on a spiritual search. You know what? They're very intelligent, but their egos are as big as anybody else's. But because of that intelligence, it makes them incredibly arrogant. There are INFPs and INFJs that just think, we're above everybody else, which means what? They're like everybody else out there in the world. We have to bring that down. So I think there's probably a combination. You got to be an INFP or an INFJ perhaps, but also you have to come from someplace where it's very hurt. You have to come from there's a number of different criteria. We're going to emerge a little more rare in the population than everybody. And that just because we get there doesn't mean others will. And we have to know that going in. That's a tough thing. Because I go into this long ago thinking, oh my God, everybody's going to want to hear this. Boy, it didn't take long. I learned to just go hide someplace and go, oh my God, what's the matter? This is exciting. I'm learning something. I'm changing my life and people are hating me. Yeah, you'll run into that. That's a reality. So find your friends. And if you find somebody that you can talk through this with, we're looking at being able to open up. I mean, a friend should know everything there is about you and still be able to be your friend. If that's not them, they're not your friend anyway. That is how it ends up being. And I, too, am doing this looking for people. And I know that, it can be a tough thing because you're looking to share ideas. You're looking to grow with people and you need things. We need each other. And we don't need most of the people around us, sadly. I mean, they can be there. That's all fine. But I mean, as far as this spiritual growth and communication, that's what I mean. As far as our own inner spiritual search, they're not going to be helpful to us. Other than allowing us to see how our life, where we belong. Anyway, I'm going to close it out for here. I might go back and edit something before I finish this if I think of anything to add into it. But the last, I responded to an email And after that, I kept thinking and realized, boy, I'm really deep into this. And I realized there were things that happened long ago to me on this path that people are going through that I need to talk about and let everybody know, yeah, you're okay. You're okay. If people around you hate you for what you're doing because you're figuring this out, you're on track. Just shh. Yeah, that's all. That's all. We're good. And according to the material, as I got hours of it, I don't want to repeat it all here. This has always been the case. There's nothing new here. We're fine. So this part I edited in. I've been thinking about this, and I'm not quite sure how to say it, because I always invite questions, conversations, comments, and things like that. But everybody, there's only a few times actually where somebody will start off a comment with me by something like, "You're wrong. Here's how it really works." And those comments aren't going to work with me. I'll be patient with them a little bit, but at some point in time, what I want to say is I've found something that's very mechanical, very observable here, very demonstrable. It's not debatable. So if somebody comes and says you're wrong on that interpretation, you're supposed to be using chakras, you're not here. I have a video on chakras if you want to know what I feel about them. They're talismans. There's some place for you to hold your attention on while you're trying to heal because you have a difficult time clearing out the third eye, which is really that massive crap between the cosmos and your life that you view things through. Clear that out, everything's okay. And if you can't clear that out, then go focus on your chakras for the next 30 years. You're welcome to do that. That's what that is for. I invite dialogue and conversation in a positive way that is meant to grow this. And everything that that comes from me is demonstrable, non-supernatural. That's difficult, I realize, because suddenly for a lot of people that shifts into something very clinical, and it doesn't sound okay. It's very mechanical. But I can say this: if I maintained a supernatural outlook along the way, I would not have found what I found. I had to know in my head, I was convinced something was there for me, and that there is no supernatural. And that's the only way I found this. I had to have that mindset. So I'm not going to reintroduce supernatural into what I do. That's going backwards as far as I'm concerned. That's shifting from inner to outward. That's going the wrong way. The reality to me is, it's difficult. I feel like Krishnamurti and asking, do you understand? It is... It's very much a psychological thing, but that we exist in this energy flow. So it's not just about feeling better. It's about changing your life, which changes the flow of your life and your life experience. They're teaching all of that to us. And there is an observable template, a framework that exists along, and that framework is what I am pointing out. That template. The stories, the outer carrying stories, those are the carrier stories. Those need to be decoded to see what the template parts actually contain. And they're going to contain exactly, close to this. Few are called. You're going to have to leave your past behind. You're going to have to turn inward. You're going to have to face your demons. You're going to have to forgive who hurt you. You're going to have to make restitution to the people that you've hurt. That during that time frame that you're making restitution, they might tell you to shove it and get lost, and there's nothing you can do about that except to humbly take it. You still have to forgive. You are changing the mental state of this memory, which apparently resides with an energy that causes it to act out in a certain way. I'm not letting go of that. That's the finest resolution I think we can come up with as far as what is going on. There's a very specific point where we are holding on to a memory with a certain emotional state, and that emotional state is what is causing the issues. We have to face that and change that emotional state, which is a very difficult thing, but that's what makes the difference. But the template continues on. You come back to regular life and yay, life is better. We're improving. We're looking to emerge from our humble animal beginnings to a higher spiritual realm, so to speak. Or at least, I don't want to use that term, a higher realm of existence. We will have a better life. We will flow in a better life. We will have better things happen to us. We're taking care of the issue that is this mass up here, and that is what is being taught, and that is the template that all of these stories exist along. So if you're stopping along the way and trying to determine whether Jesus really existed or not, we're not finding the message. There's a lesson in the material that we're looking for, and that message is consistent throughout. And that message is what I'm sticking with. That template right there it's not easy to see at first. I see it everywhere now, but my brain is kind of trained to see it. But that's where I'm staying, because that is what is there. That existed from Mesopotamia, Gilgamesh. That framework exists everywhere. All the religions and myths and everything past that are the New Age things. They are. The template is the interior. That's what's inside. That's the self-healing template. Look, it's very exciting for me. This is my thing. This is what I like to do, and I'm very passionate about it. Love one another. I'll see you in the next video.